Hi, this week, well, today is Rusko against Ajani Greathearted. It's really the first creature aggressive matchup for Rusko, which is one of the more, in theory, shakier matches. In practice, it wasn't such an issue if the aggressive decks didn't have a bunch of hasty threats. So Balmor is a big threat for Rusko. Rusko has a severely hard time dealing with haste threats that just come in for bursts of damage. But Ajani's more, you can see it coming. They're going to go wide. They're going to deploy a big board up. The hand there, pretty standard, strong hand. We have the Guardian Idol for turn 2. We have Mox Amber after playing Rusko for some interaction. The turn for turn 3. Consider and Seek New Knowledge just to cycle into some more action. The only thing that's really missing from this hand is some sort of board control, so that when Ajani does go wide, that potentially is a problem. However, picking up the Spell Pierce, ready for that Ajani to come down, or ready for when it comes down, and just to say no thanks, I need the extra time without Ajani existing. And with that extra time, Rusko can get really far ahead in like 1 or 2 extra turns. It's pretty ridiculous how much advantage you can get just from a few extra turns in the deck. So Spell Pierce is incredibly valuable here. Conclave Mental comes down, but we do top deck a removal spell, and kind of goes perfectly. With this, we have the Mox Amber to both play the first and Spell Pierce to hold up for something. Less important this turn, as we see the revealed Skyclave apparition in hand is probably going to come in and take care of the clock that we have in play, set us back a bit. But if they do that, it's still quite a slow start for the Ajani, and still holding up Spell Pierce for Ajani just gives us an extra time. And actually, the decision was to get rid of Rusko instead. Personally, I think this is a bit of a mistake. The viable destruction target should always be the clocks. Giving me an extra clock just to, play Rusko again. I'm always going to have the interaction, because the interaction in the deck usually costs about 1 or 2 mana. And what do you know, I have Mox Amber. I was a little bit upset though, because I wanted the clock untapped rather than the Mox untapped, just in case something happened to Rusko and I still needed that blue for Spell Pierce. That would not be an option, because if Rusko disappears, then hey, I have no mana open anymore. But Conclave Tribunal comes down instead, and so I'm pretty happy. Hey, nothing wrong happened, not completely punished for that. Spell Pierce hitting it, and now I have the full setup, Seek New Knowledge coming down. I think at this point, yep, I've worked out, hey, I have no game sound, so I just turned that on. And just with an absolute wealth of stuff to do, okay, the Seek New Knowledge to find some action, but also this clock's getting pretty high. It's already on 8 counters. It goes to their turn, goes to 9, goes back to my turn, goes to 10. I cast Seek New Knowledge, that will already put that up by 1 to be 11. Find another spell always, because that's what it does. Time Warp is just, it's a bit overkill, but you'll take overkill if you can get it. May as well seal the deal. I was checking counting there to see if I can go play the Celestis first and then cast the Time Warp. I am 1 mana short, so it's just the easy decision just to play the Time Warp. The opponent's had enough, I think. Not surprising there. I'm sort of already getting a far ahead in the game, and they're not even on the board yet. They have a 2/2 and play nothing else. Even they have to both make the board wide on their side of the field and then play Ajani and buff them up. Incredibly unlikely I'm going to have a new grip of cards on the very next turn with the clock, so pretty easy scoop from the opponent as we head into game 2. Alright, heading into game 2, this time on the draw, sorry. So really the board wipe is going to be much more critical here, and boom, in the opening hand there is Languish. Quite just the perfect card really for the matchup. I am looking at 2 lands, which is a little bit frightening in this deck, because Mana Screw is going to be one of the most consistent ways you're going to lose with the deck, at least in the moment, especially in public queue. This deck is so ridiculous in the public queue when it's not placed in the appropriate tier yet for matchmaking. Bit of a pub stomper, but in any case, we do have removal and a memory lapse up for 2 mana, so I think it's pretty keepable. Also, if we run out of mana screw, it should be fairly easy. We have extra time warps, we have the all-important Languish in the hand, and we're already drawing out of it with the 3rd land, so things are looking up from here. Ranger Captain of Eos can be a little bit disgusting, just stopping you from literally casting any of your cards, so probably going to look to just Infernal Grasp that on sight as soon as I can drop the swamp and play it. I'm not interested in playing mind games with the opponent, asking them when they want to sacrifice that. I have no interest in doing that at all. I just want to get it off the board. Yep, shields are down, they can go for Ajani here, but on this board it's actually not that threatening. There's a 1-1 in play, right? So if they make that a 2-2, so what, right? So instead they go wide first. Now I'm going to have the memory lapse up. I have Brainstorm to find new hands, or half of a new hand anyway. Also just to find that 4th land, that very, very important 4th land from this position. I don't want to foretell the Epiphany because memory lapse is going to be extremely important. And then I realized, oh wait, hang on, the Shepherd gives that can't be counted. So a little bit of an oversight there, only realizing it as the client helpfully tells me, hey look, this thing can't be counted. It's like, do you want to? And I'm like, oh, maybe not. So the next best thing is just to get rid of the biggest threat, so I take less damage. It's going to be the 2-2, which should become a 3-3, and instead of taking 6 here, they have an army of 2-2s. It still succumbs to the Languish, which I can drop next turn. I have 2 options next turn, which is to go Rusko and just pass, or I can go Languish and wipe the board immediately. The advantage of going Languish straight away is that I can play Rusko afterwards and have the Drain Life effect immediately available, whereas if I play Rusko first and then Languish, yes, I can rebuy Rusko for 2 mana. Hey, that's pretty useful in pretty much all circumstances, but I quite value the body on board potentially as a blocker and the life gain as well, especially against the aggro list. Okay, so Spellbinder coming down, hitting Time Warp, no surprises there. They see the memory lapse, so it's going to be quite annoying for them to play around it. There's no real easy way to play around it, especially if they're not drawing very well. I just reset the draw. It's sort of like a 2-mana Time Warp. It's a pretty disgusting card in a lot of situations. And also here I can just go Rusko and hold up the memory lapse as well. Very strong combination there. It's one of the reasons why having Mana Rocks for turn 3 is really good in the deck as well, is because if you go Rusko on turn 4, you're going to have the Mana Rock that you played on turn 3, plus the clock that you got from the Rusko, so you have 2 mana to interact with the opponent. If you don't have the rock on turn 3, then hopefully you're looking to find one of the 1 mana interaction or counter spells, something like that. Preferably blue, because you're getting the clock and not much else with that, unless you have something like a Chromatic Star or Spear, which aren't in the deck for the reason. They're in the deck just to cycle through, tick up the clock, and potentially filter for mana because the clocks are all blue. Hey, if you need 1 black to, say, play a Dark Ritual or just any black spell, just to get the clocks going, then that's also useful there as well. So in this spot, Humiliation's pretty good. This now stops the life gain happening, it stops the clock proliferation happening. It means we're going to have to do a lot of extra work to get to our extra grip of cards. Here, I mean, nothing else in hand but extra turns, may as well use them. Also, may as well take this opportunity to get Ajani off the board. We are noticing that they're not drawing lands. Next turn, they're redrawing the Burning Command. So, putting Ajani back to hand means it's not going to hit the board for at least a turn or 2. River's Rebuke, normally a fantastic card as well. Don't mind seeing that, but in this board state it's not that interesting. I'm really looking for interaction, and Counterspell is exactly that. Yes, ramp is good, but I really like the interaction. We can start playing more like a control deck, control all the threats before they hit, and then eventually just win through card advantage. This clock is going to get to 12 with or without the commander at some point anyway. And okay, drawing another clock. Also, if I ever draw any sort of bounce spell or removal spell, I will probably fire that off straight at the commander just to recast it again, and then get those clocks going, get the drain life going, get everything back and running basically. Falcon is kind of nice, giving the 2-3 flying, so we are going to 10 here. But we do have his River's Rebuke and the the extra turn, of course, in hand. Not necessary that I tick the clock up there. I could have done that on end step, but anyway, minute details didn't really change the course of the game. River's Rebuke seems better than Time Warp. As Time Warp's always an extra turn, River's Rebuke is sometimes effectively an extra turn. So I prefer to get River's Rebuke down when it's effectively a Time Warp, rather than a Time Warp as a Time Warp. It's just getting the most value out the cards that I can. That clock is now up to 9. On my turn it goes up to 10, and then I can tick that up once, and then it will go and redraw a new hand on their turn. Okay, I'm just incorrect there, so it's 10 already. It will go up to 11 on my turn. I can tick it up on my turn to get a new hand on my turn, or just wait for it to tick up on the opponent's turn. And I have the mana up, so I could just tick it up now. I choose not to. I think that might have been a mistake, but I think I valued the Time Warp, which would go away. It looks like it's in, another hand there or something, but it is in the hand still. Just the visual effect they give you in the client to say, hey look, it's been affected by the 3-1 fly. I forgot the name of it at the moment. Here I send it in, it's a free attack, I have an extra turn. I did not expect the opponent to block it here. Honestly, this is exactly what we want. We want to be able to recast the commander here, and just have access to the drain, the proliferation effects. But it was still correct to attack, because just racing it's a free attack, right? If we hit him to 24, that's still potentially relevant. So new hand is pretty good. We're looking at expertise here, which can recast the commander again for free. It's very nice sort of tech in the deck, as expertise making you cast a spell that costs 4 or less in your hand for free. It means if you bounce Rusko or return Rusko to your hand, you can then cast it for free. So it sort of acts as like a 5-mana flicker effect for your commander specifically, and then also as 2 bounce spells for the opponent, but also the opponent's rocks. So if they have a bunch of mana rocks set up, you can return those to their hand, and that can be really devastating sometimes. So really, really nice card. I like it a lot in this deck. And yeah, we're still looking at a grip of useful cards. There's Heartless Act, there's the counter spell, Seek New Knowledge if nothing important happens. Loving the hand. I can't do 2 things at once. I have 3 mana open at the moment, 2 from the Relic of Legends, because I can tap Rusko of course, and the Midnight Clock. Here I have the choice to counterspell that or Heartless Act it. And just let that resolve. Counterspell is more valuable than Heartless Act, because Counterspell is more of a catch-all. Heartless Act only hits the relevant creatures. And Heartless Act also is ready for the Seeker's Chariot before it attacks as well. So again, just trying to get the most value out of the cards that I can. And hence the plan to go for Heartless Act. The protection that does get me here, but the Chariot itself is only dealing 4. We're still at a healthy life total. We could be at 1 life here, and we're potentially okay, but 8 life is far too much to just die here. We're going to drain a bunch, we're going to get Seek New Knowledge, that's a at least 2 more. We can also get the new hand immediately. Yes, we lose counterspell, so it might be a bit awkward if we lose some interaction for the opponent, and if they draw a lethal threat of some description. But it's pretty good. Seeking Knowledge also very strong in the redraw hands because you can just get rid of extra lands. Siren's Ruse and Fading Hope to flicker the commander, get more clocks up is just part of the key game plan. Very happy to see those. But as soon as I try and cast them, the clocks are going to tick up. So it's more taking the opportunity here to just get a final flicker effect off before my clocks tick up. I'm holding full control here just so that I can cast Fading Hope and get the value off that before the redraw happens when the clock goes to 12. So I'm going to respond to the Rusko trigger first before anything happens with a free Fading Hope effectively. Counterspell's just going to sit in my hand. I'm not really too interested in casting that just for 1 extra life. And to tick up the clocks, there's value in also having the clock separated in terms of counters somewhat, because it gives me a chance to dump the redraw hand of 7 before I lose all the card advantage that I got from that clock here. So yes, it's a little bit awkward to see 8 and 7, but hopefully in the redraws I can get some more flicker effects, some extra clocks, and it won't be that big a deal. The hand itself that was redrawn wasn't too good. A whole bunch of lands is basically a whole bunch of nothing. Unlikely draw in the deck, but still good enough, I think. We can get the rocks into play. We still hold up the counterspell, which we'll absolutely fire off here. Set the opponent back quite a lot. And also setting up with the rocks for a Paradox Engine win next turn, because next turn we can find with the Inventor's Fair the Paradox Engine, play that, and we have effectively, well, a lot of mana, and that should be enough to go infinite effectively. Opponent's seen enough, I think it's fair, and yeah, that's a quick, well, reasonably quick 2-0.